Let us start with a new concept of regional development and planning. In our previous class, we had seen about what is the concept of region. So, towards the development of or build up to this concept, that is regional development and planning. So, let us understand these concepts today. What is development? What is regional development? And what is regional planning? So, when we say about development, so what do you mean by development? Like all of us may have different viewpoints of what is a development. So, here are a few points on what is the concept of development, which is related to regional development. Development can be anything, but we are here more concerned with what regional development. So, what is the concept of development? So, when we say development, although many of us can have various views, but development is what? It is a multifaceted approach. Now, when we say multifaceted, that means it might have various interpretations to it because it has got various angles. Obviously, development will have various angles. We cannot say just economic development to be a development. Social development is also development. Infrastructural development is also development. Cultural development is also development. So, in short, in one word, you can say that it is a multifaceted approach. Now, we can also say that it is a process of what? For the betterment of a larger number of human group, of a larger human group or a majority of the population. So, development is not concerned with maybe 1 or 2%, but it is concerned with what? With a majority of the population. And how that can be done when you are going for the betterment of a larger human group or when you are going for the betterment of the majority of the population, how can you do that? Obviously through economic development and through social development. So these are the two main, you can say, two main angles of development, that is economic development and social development. When these two development can occur, then this will help in the development of this majority of the population. Now, when you start with development, when the state, when the nation starts with development, first we must identify what are the human needs. If we do not know the human needs, then obviously we cannot address the needs. So, when the needs are identified, when the human needs are identified, then only the objective will be what? To take care of these needs. And while these needs are taken care of, then what will happen? Then the level of the living of the masses, then the standard of the living will be raised through various ways. Now, when the standard of the living can be raised, now how that can occur? That can occur through various types of planning, through temporal planning, through sectoral planning, etc. So, through all these kinds of planning, when the objectives of or the standard of the living of the masses can be raised, that will take care of the human needs, that will take care through social development and economic development. And when all this development can occur, then we have a multifaceted development. Now we have seen till now what is region, what is development. Now let us see that what is regional development. Now, what do we mean by regional development? Now, with regional development, this aims at what? This aims at enhancing the level of the living of the people. Now, of where? Of a region. Now, the concept of region, I have already told you, it can be a small place also, it can be a big place, it can be a village, it can be a state, it can be a continent, etc., etc. So, development, when we seek towards development of a region, in very simple terms, when we seek to develop a region, when we seek for the development of the people living in that region, that is regional development. Now, when we speak about regional development, as you have seen in the previous slide, it is of course linked to economic development. Now, if in a region, like in my previous lecture, I had told you about the Bimaru states. Now, that Bimaru states, the economic development is very low. So, since that is very low, when economic development is not there, when there is poverty, etc., when there is unemployment, etc., then obviously there will be social disintegration. That means for the regional development, it is very important this for the second point, that is economic development to occur. Now, when we speak about regional development, that can occur through two ways. First is intra-regional and the second is inter-regional. Now, we will go into this intra and inter-regional in the next class. So, in very short, what is intra-regional? In intra-regional, when we try to solve the problem within a particular region. Now, again, I am using this word within a particular region, that is intra-regional planning. And when we try to solve the problems between two regions, not within a particular region, but between two regions, that is, maybe there is regional disparity between two specific regions. So we try to remove that regional disparity, that is inter-regional. You have heard about inter-university, that is between the various universities, or inter-college, that is between the various colleges. So intra-regional is more of a like social perspective. This has got a more social perspective. But when we try to do inter-regional, that is more of an economic perspective, economic in nature, because generally when there is regional disparity, that disparity is because of economic disparity. Now, when we try to develop the region through intra-regional or inter-regional, what we try to do is that we try to seek a balanced regional growth. Now, when we try to do a balanced regional growth through regional development, that does not mean that it must be that all the regions will have the equal development, equal nature of development. No region can be equally developed. But what it means is that when we go for balanced regional development, it means that the fullest development has occurred. In that region, whatever it is capacities, whatever it is potentiality, according to that potentiality, according to that capacity, the fullest development has occurred. That we mean balanced regional development. So this is the concept of regional development. In very short, to sum up all these things, this is the first definition you can say, that to sum up, when we seek a development, a wholesome development, an integrated development, a balanced development of a region, we call that regional development. Now, next, let us see what do we mean by regional planning. Now, again, when we plan in very simple term, when we plan for a region, when we plan for a region, obviously, why we want to plan? We want to plan for the development of the region. Otherwise, we don't need planning. So when we plan for the development of a region, that is called regional planning. Now, if you remember from my first lecture, now that region can be an extensive area. Like if I say the whole of northeastern region, that can be a very limited region. That is, for example, the Kolkata metropolitan region. That can be also a drainage basin. That is maybe the Damodar Valley region. So the concept of a region, I have told you previously, it is a very dynamic concept depending upon what you delineate. So when you simply do planning for a region, that is called regional planning. Now, what sort of planning you have to do for that region? Now, if you have to do an integrated planning, when you plan for the region, it has to be an integrated planning. That it cannot be just physical planning. It cannot be just economic planning. It has to be an integrated planning. And that integrated planning will be encompassing the various things, that is the physical resources of the region, the cultural resources of the region, the economic resources of the region. So when you plan in an integrated fashion for any region, that is called again the regional planning. And when we plan, of course, what happens? It must be a multidisciplinary approach, because when you are doing an integrated planning, it has to be a multidisciplinary approach. And when it is a multidisciplinary approach, and that when we come for a multidisciplinary approach, when we do a multidisciplinary approach, what we seek to do is that we try to develop the various smallest regions also. So And while we do that, while we go for multidisciplinary approach, that can be for the local level also, and that can be for the regional level also, that can be for the international level also. So just see over here, that can be a local level also for the supposing for any metropolitan region, that can be in a national level also, or that can be for the international level also. For example, if for the SAARC countries, if we want to plan for the SAARC countries, then that is an international planning. So region does not have any bounded concept, and that is why regional planning also do not have any bounded concept. It depends on what is the nature of your region. And while we do regional planning, we have to take care of the smallest units, because we need to take care of the potentiality of every unit. So we have to take care of the smallest unit. When we take care of the smallest unit, then the larger units will also be taken care of. For example, if I take about Aizawl Municipal Corporation area, then that is the smallest unit. Then I will also take care of the various other municipal corporations, and in doing so we can take care of the whole of Mizoram. So the development of the smallest units ensures that the bigger units are also taken care of. Now, what is the goal of regional planning? The first goal of regional planning will be to build the economy of that region. Second will be to strengthen the economic opportunities. The third goal is to diversify the national economy. So over here, you are seeing that stress is being given on the economic aspects more. And while it is given stress on the economic aspects, then the environmental improvement, because if you just see economic aspects, then the environmental protection also comes, sometimes it comes under the acts. So we have to take care that the environmental, while we are going for the economic development, the environmental protection is also taken care of. For example, our neighboring country, China, around a few years back, they have built a very big dam in one of the major rivers of their countries. Now, because of that dam, it is predicted that that will have a very minor impact on the Earth's movement, on the Earth's rotation. Now that is an environmental. So that means although they have taken care of the economy, but they have not taken care of the environment. Or if, for example, if we try to develop some maybe industries on and we try to clear up the forest in that region, so that is not environmental improvement. We are not doing sustainable development. So regional planning do not only believe in economic planning, in which we are only taking care of the economy, but we also have to take care of the environment, because then we can have an integrated planning, and then we can have this last objective, that is the general welfare of the people. Because if you remember from the earlier slide, regional planning is what? If you see from here, it is economic also, social also, and physical also. What is the need and importance of regional planning? Why should we learn about regional planning? So the first need and importance is that, as I have said in one of the previous slides, is regional disparity. We have to minimize the regional disparity. So like there are wide regional disparities in how the resource utilization is being done. So in order to minimize these regional disparities, the development process should be done in such a way that the disparities are covered. So we will see more of disparities in the coming classes. Next is there, if there are some specific problems, some specific critical problems. For example, if there is some specific critical problems in the Damodar Valley region, or in maybe some hilly region, in some drought prone region. So to specify this, for the specific critical problems, regional planning is required. Then there is a problem of the rapidly increasing population. Now there are certain regions which has got very heavy population, but with relation to that, the resource is very poor in those regions. So to take care of this disparity between population and region, regional planning is required. To ensure the integrated development of functional regions. Now, functional regions, when we speak about functional region, for example, the NCR, the National Capital Region. So the NCR region, we have got various functions in that NCR region. So for the various functions of that, we need an integrated development of that region. So for that integrated development of that region, of the NCR region, we require, because there are various types of problems in that region, we require regional planning. We also require regional planning for the less developed countries or for the newly developed countries, etc. So let us see that what do we mean by these less developed countries or the newly developed countries. How does development look like? What is the difference between a less developed and a more developed, etc. So in a less developed region, and for example, in a less developed region, the countries with lower per capita income, with scarce capital, they can be termed as less developed region. Similarly, the opposite is with countries with higher per capita income. So these things, countries which are having these kinds of features, that is less with lower per capita income, wealth not being equally distributed, etc. So these comes under the ambit of less developed, or which has got their primary activities dominating in agriculture, etc., standard of living being low, etc. These comes under the ambit of less developed. So these requires to be developed, and for these we require regional planning. These are some other examples of being less developed. So population being more rural, birth and death rates being more high, life expectancy being low, etc. So these are the other conditions or the other features of a less developed region. Or there may be, these are the various social conditions. So what are the social conditions? The social conditions may be overcrowding, poor housing, less public service, sanitation, etc. So these are the various social conditions, the various physical conditions, the various economic conditions. So this is how less developed look like. So we need to change this less developed to a more developed region. So for this, we require regional planning.